It's been a long time, and I'm just trying to keep it simple. I will try to solve or see if I can take a stab at this, finding the types of it, or if I can type it properly. I'm not that. Let's just say I'm a beginner at this one, so bear with me with that one, keeping in mind. So, partial t. So, it's the first one from Big Front and Dev. Partial T returns a type which represents all subsets of type T. Okay. Please implement partial T by yourself. So type foo, A string, B number, and C boolean. Okay. So below are all valid. Please implement partial T by yourself. Below are all valid, right? So it can be a string, a number, or a boolean. Um, Partial foo. Okay, type foo can be added to it. Uh-huh. So it can have B, C. Okay. Start. So what it says is type partial T equals to, and whatever T is, that should be like basically whatever T is. Foo. Okay. It's kind of weird that it's how do you analyze this one? So T can have anything in it, right? Um, so your code here, please don't use partial T. Uh-huh. How would you analyze this? How would you? I'll just take a stab at it. Like what I think is, how do you type anything is which is generic, and then uh, key of T, maybe key of T, and then something like that. I'm not sure. So I've already solved it like a long back, but let's see what AI has to do. So what I'll do is I'll take the description, take the entire this question, and go to Chat GPT. Let's go there, and hopefully I'll just hide my chat history if that is okay. Okay, wait a minute. Yeah. So I'll bring this guy back. Okay. So if I paste it here and I'll ask ChatGPT to not give me direct answer. Do not give me direct answer. Please give me hints so that I can reach the answer. Okay, let's see what it is. Okay, So this is pretty small, I think. I'll just zoom it a little bit. Okay, nice TypeScript puzzle. Let's walk you there step by step without spoiling the final line. You already know that foo has three keys, A, B, C. Okay, yeah, foo has. Okay, so okay, so A, B, C. A string, B is number, C is Boolean. But foo, okay, foo. Okay, so A, B, C is, how do I get a union of all? Question to ask yourself. How do I get a union of all keys of a type in TypeScript? There's a built-in operator for this. Union, okay. Map types are the core idea. Map types are the core idea. Partial T doesn't magically generate subsets. It actually loops over every property of T and transform it. Okay. How do I iterate over each key of type of T in a type? What does the syntax look like for a map type? You have probably seen something like k in dot 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 before. No, I haven't seen that. What makes properties optional? Hint 3, what makes properties optional? All example work because every property can be omitted. How do you mark a property as an optional in a type? You can apply the optional modifier while looping over keys. So question mark is used to make it an optional, that I know. Notice A is still a string, B is still number. Yeah, only the optionality change. When mapping over the key, how do I refer back to the original property type? Okay, sanity check mentally. Once you think you have the shape, mentally test. Does type check a hello? Okay. If you want one final nudge, still not the answer, your solution will have exactly three parts. A generic key of T. Okay. Can you show me the answer? I did not still get the implementation. Okay. So how do I have to find it? K in key of T. Okay, so I wrote key of T. That is optional. Oh, okay. Okay, that's interesting. That is pretty interesting. So what I do is K in key of T, and that is optional, and plus T of K, isn't it? Okay. Yep, that works. Okay. So, okay. What we'll do is, okay, prep pal, right? Yeah, I have created this prep pal. Okay, it's not up yet. Prep pal. Really? Is it already down or what? Has it been that long? I have not used it. Prep pal. Okay, GitHub dot prepare. Okay, what we'll do is I'll go to my GitHub account, and then from there we can probably tap into my website. It's a static website. It makes use of your what do you call it, your local storage. And what it does is, um, whenever you are learning something or anything, you can basically um, turn on the Pomodoro app or Pomodoro clock in there, and it will start recording the session. And yeah, let me just walk you guys over it. It's a nice side project. I was searching, I implemented it while searching for a job. So if I go to pages, I'm not okay. Yeah. So GitHub, this guy. So see, all this is stored in my session storage. These many questions, total 68, and then front end is 35, and this is the clock. I've also added the music, but I've seen that music screws up with the time sometimes, and this is my dashboard. So nothing done as of yet, but yeah, I'll try to be consistent this year. At least 4 days. I have to be stay consistent 4 days in a row, not in a row, but in a week. Um, I want to just achieve um, like I go 4 days in a gym. I want to stay focused and do that 4 days timing, 4 day studies also. So yeah, that way I'll keep in touch with whatever latest is going on or whatever I want to learn. So this question, right? So whatever I have done so far, what I do is I go in the front end channel, add this question, need revision. So I do not do it correctly. So it was TypeScript. This was the, oh, this was the link, and implement partial t, and then there is no related questions, and the notes I was not able to solve it. um, have to look up, have to take chat GPT's help. Okay, so this one was easy. I'll mark it 2 star. Not this is not asked anywhere, so add question. So this will be added to the to my repository here. And yeah, so that way whatever questions are marked as revision, I'll have it here. And one more thing I can do is in the dashboard, what I can do is top 10 top 10 questions for revision, like recently marked as revision, so I can have it there. And as soon as I add a question there, it counts it as an activity, so that I can have a trail. So this way, yeah, my productivity, I can see how many days I have stayed productive, and so on and so forth. The app is really in rudimentary stages. I haven't worked on it much, but yeah, it is what it is. Um, so let's go back. Let's go back. And how many minutes are we into this stream? Let me check. Let me check. Only 14 minutes, right? We can do a couple more rounds. So let's go back, and then required one, right? Yeah, we'll do this one. As the opposite of partial t, required t set all properties of t to required. Okay. Please implement my required t by yourself. Okay. So foo, this is question mark, question mark, question mark, string boolean. Okay. A empty is will not work. B will not work. C with this will not work. Partial will not work. All three should be there. So should I just remove the question mark? So k in key of t is equal, sorry, k t of k, will that, what is required t in your code? Okay, let me also check. Should work the same way. Specs. Okay, I should have checked what is partial t and required t. Okay, okay. K in key of t, right? K in k of t, key of t. A, B, C I'll get. Okay. So also, what I would like to do is I want to see what partial t is. Solution. Let's see the solution. What are map types? I haven't seen that. When you don't want to repeat yourself, sometimes a type needs to be based on another type. Map types build on the syntax for index signature, which are used to declare the types of property which have not been declared ahead of time. Okay, type only bulls and horses, key string boolean horse. Okay, what is horse here? Const confirms only bulls and horses. True, false. A mapped key is a generic type which uses a union of property keys frequently created via a key of to iterate through keys to create a type. Type options flags type property in key of type boolean. Okay. In this example, options flag will take all the properties from the type and change their values to be boolean. Okay. Type feature dark is equal to void. Type feature options options flag feature. Type feature option dark mode boolean options flag. In this example, options flag will take all the property from the type and change their values to the boolean. Okay. Okay, I see. So here what I'm doing is k in key of t. I'm taking that t of k, I'm assigning to it, and that is not optional, but yeah. Mapping modifier. There are two additional modifier which can be applied during mapping: read only and question mark, which affects mutability and respectively optionality respectively. You can remove or add these modifiers by prefixing minus or plus. If you don't add a prefix, then plus is assumed. Can remove or add these modifiers by prefixing minus or plus. Okay. So remove read-only attribute from a type's property. Create mutable type. Read-only property in key of type property. Removes. Okay. Did not get that much. Try. What is try? Okay. Type create mutable type. Concrete type. Okay. So remove optional attribute from a type's property. So minus question mark type property. So do I have to do that? Maybe user. Oh, okay. So here what I can do is, if I do this, then maybe it will work. Yeah. So minus question mark was required. Minus question mark was to remove the optional attribute. Do you call it at optional attributes, right? From type property. Optional attribute. Okay. Yeah. So this is good, but what I think is, as I'm reading this thing, it's getting I'm able to understand it more, or little bit more, I can say that. Remapping via as. um, in TypeScript 4.1 and onwards, you can remap keys in map types with an as clause in a map type. Type mapped type with few properties. Type properties in key of type as new key type. Properties in key of type as new key map type. Key remapping via as. Okay, in TypeScript, you can remap keys in mapped types with an as clause in a map type. Okay, type property. You can leverage features like template literal types to create new property names from prior ones. why don't we start from the beginning? I know I'm digressing a little bit, but I'll just read through this one. TypeScript types system is very powerful because it allows expressing types in terms of other types. The simplest form of this idea is generics. Additionally, we have a wide variety of type operator available to us. It's also possible to express type in terms of values that we already have. By combining various type operators, we can express complex operations and values in succinct. I don't know how do you pronounce this one. Succinct. Um, okay, let's do this. Succinct. How do you pronounce it? Succinct. Succinct. Okay, whatever. Succinct. And what's the meaning? Briefly and clearly expressed. Succinct values in succinct, maintainable way. In this section, we'll cover ways to express a new type in terms of an existing type of generic value. Okay, cool. So succinct. A major part of software engineering is building components that not only have well-defined and consistent APIs, but are also reusable. Components that are capable of working on the data of today as well as data of tomorrow will give you the most flexible capabilities for building up large software systems. In languages like C Sharp and Java, one of the main tools in the toolbox for creating reusable. Sorry, my bad. I'll just read it. I just got lost in chain of thought. A major part of software engineering is building components that not only have well-defined, consistent API but are also reusable. Okay, components that are capable of working on data of today as well as data of tomorrow will give you the most flexible capabilities for building up large software systems. In languages like C Sharp and Java, one of the main tools in the toolbox for creating reusable components is generics, that is being able to create a component that can work over a variety of types rather than a single one. This allows user to consume these components and use their own types. Okay, hello world um, of generics. To start off, let's do hello world of generics. The identity function. The identity function is a function that will return back whatever is passed in. You can think of this in a similar way to the echo command. Without generics, we could either have to give identity function a specific type. Without generic, we either have to give the identity function a specific type. Okay, a function identity arg number, and argument is a number type, and the identity function returns a number. Okay, or we should describe the identity function using any type, any, while while using any is certainly generic in that it will cause the function to accept any and all types of the type of arg. We actually are losing the information about that type was when sorry we actually are losing the information about what that type was when the function returns. If we passed in a number, the only information we have is that any type could be returned. Instead, we need a way of capturing the type of argument in such a way that we can also use it to denote what is being returned. Here we will use a type variable, a special kind of variable that works on types rather than values. Okay, so identity type. Okay, so we now added a type variable to identify. We now added a type variable a type variable type to identify function. This type allows us to capture the type the user provides, example number, so that we can use that information later. Here we use type again as the return type. On inspection, we can now see the same type is used for the arguments and the return type. So here the argument and the return type. This allows us to um, traffic that type information in one side of the function and out the other. We say that this version of identity function is generic as it works over a range of types. Unlike using any, it also just as precise, that is, it does not lose any information as the first identity function that used number for the arguments and return type. Once we've returned the generic identity function, we can call it one of two ways. The first way is to pass all the arguments, including the type argument, to the function. Let output identity string my string, okay? Here we explicitly set type to the string as one of the arguments to the function call. Okay, string, yeah. Here we explicitly set type to the string as one of the arguments to the function call, denoted using the um, less than and greater than around the around the argument rather than curly circular braces, right? Okay. So the second way is also perhaps the most common. Here we use type argument in inference. That is, we want the compiler to set the value of type for us automatically based on the type of argument we pass in. Let output identity my string, okay? Notice that we didn't have to explicitly pass the type in the angle bracket. The compiler just looked at the value my string and set type to its type. While type argument inference can be a helpful tool to keep code shorter and more readable, you may need to explicitly pass in the type argument as we need in the previous example. When the compiler fails to infer the type, as may happen in more complex examples, working with generic type variable. When you begin to use generics, you'll notice that when you create generic function like identity, the compiler will enforce that you use any generically typed parameter in the body of the function correctly. That is, that you actually treat these parameter as if they could be any and all types. Sorry, so can I read that again? I think I did not get that part. When you begin to use generics, you'll notice that when you create any generic function like identity, the compiler will enforce that you use generically typed parameter in the body of the function correctly. Okay, that is that you actually treat this parameter as they could be any or any and all types. Let us take our identity function from earlier. Function angle bracket type argument circular brackets. Okay, what what if we want to also log the length of the argument args to the console with each call? We might be tempted to write this console log args.length, but type can be anything, right? So I think this shouldn't work. Property length does not exist on type, right? When we do, the compiler will give us an error that we are using the dot length member of arg, but nowhere have we said that arg has this member. Remember we said earlier that these type variables stand in for any and all types. So someone using this function could have passed in a number instead, which does not have a dot length number. True. Let's say that we actually intended this function to work on arrays of type rather than type directly. Since we are working with arrays, the dot length member should be available. We can describe this and just like we could create arrays of other type. Okay, yeah. You can read the type of logging identity as a generic function. Logging identity takes a type parameter type and an argument args, which is an array of types, and return an array of types. If we passed in an array of numbers, we'd get an array of number back out as type would bind to number. This allows us to use our generic type variable type as a part of the types we are working with rather than the whole type, giving us greater flexibility. We can alternatively write the sample example this way. Array type, okay. You may already be familiar with this style of type from other languages. In next section, we'll cover how you can create your own generic type like array type. So we are here. So this is literally quite, so let's try and finish the generic types. Okay. um so generic types. In previous section we created generic identity function that worked over a range of types. In this section we'll explore on the types of the function themselves and how to create generic interfaces. the type the type of generic function is just like those of non-generic functions with the type parameter listed first. Similarly to function declaration. Okay, so let me read that again. Sorry. In previous section, we created generic identity function that worked over a range of types. In this section, we'll explore the type of the function themselves and how to create a generic interface. The type of generic function is just like those of non-generic functions with the type parameter listed first, similar to the function declaration. Function identity type, okay. We could also have a different name for the generic type parameter in the type, so long as the number of type variables and how the type variables are used line up. Function identity type are type, okay. Input. So let my identity input args. We could also have different name for the generic type parameter in the type, so long as the number of type variables and how the type variables are used lined up. Okay, input. So it returns back. How can you write fat arrow and type is equal to identity? I do not get that. Like, what's this? Okay, let me ask ChatGPT. Could you please explain me in simpler way. What is this? No TypeScript jargon overloaded. Okay. Think of this as a function. Whatever you give me, I give it back unchanged. Identity phi returns phi. Hello, yeah. Input type equal to output. Input type equals to output type. No transformation at all. What is type? Type. This just means I don't know the type yet. You will tell me when you call the function. Okay, so if you pass a number, type becomes number. If you strings types will figure this out automatically. This line looks scary but isn't. Let my identity, let's translate it into plain English. My identity is a variable that can hold a generic function, yeah, that takes one argument and returns the same type of argument. That's it. Why do we even need this line? You are basically saying my identity must point to a function with this exact generic shape, and then you assign equal to identity. Since identity matches the shape perfectly, TypeScript is happy. Think of this like a mold. Uh, is a function mold. Any function, any function that fits this mold can be assigned. Identity fits perfectly. Simple analogy, imagine a photocopier. You put in anything, you get the same thing back. Identity, the photocopier, my identity, a label saying the copier must return exactly what it takes in. So what happens if I run this? Like, will it return true or what? No, I'm not saying equal to, right? Like, console.log my identity. So if I okay, my identity is used before being assigned. Oh, so this is all type. Oh, okay. That is just a type being assigned to it and then equal to identity. Okay. It was so big that I was not able to see that. Okay. So what I understand from this guy is like for those who are following along and were not able to identify what I was having trouble with. So this is the function, right? And this is the type, then type, and then this is this is the argument type that it is expecting, and this is what it returns back. Okay, And then at line number 5, my identity is a variable, and this is its type. This whole thing is a type. Like imagine, um, okay, writing any here, right? You're making a variable and assigning it an identity. But in that case, we know what identity here, the identity expects what type. So we assign it here. So my identity doesn't have any problem accepting it. And let's say if we would have marked it as a number, then my identity would have a problem uh, like accepting this as a value. So changing back to this guy, um, the it doesn't have any problem anymore. So what we can do is go back. I'll continue to do this for another 2 to 3 minutes, or sorry, 4 minutes. At 10 o'clock, I'll close the stream and we can probably start reading about this tomorrow, or yeah. Okay, so I understand this so far. We could also have used different name for, okay, so I got this one now. We can also write the generic type as a call signature of an object literal type. Okay, we can also write the generic type as a call signature of an object literal type, which lead, okay, so like this they have uh, typed it, okay, which leads us writing our first generic interface. Let's take the object literal from the previous example and move it to an interface. Generic identifying function type type, okay, so identify type, okay, arc, and let's call it this, okay, and identity. In a similar example, we may want to move the generic parameter to be a parameter of the whole interface. This let us see what types we are generic over: dictionary, string, rather than just dictionary. This makes the type parameter visible to all the other type. So yeah, okay, got it. So here, generic identity number we have given, right? So identity, let's try it out. I just want to see what happens. So there is generic identity function, and then we have identity type, and then okay, let's console log identity no, sorry, no, identity, sorry, ignore whatever I just said. My identity, oh my god, now I cannot pronounce identity without thinking about, you know what I mean. So function, okay, and let's say if I pass a string, then argument of type string is not assignable to parameter of type number. Yeah, so it becomes generic identity function number is then this type and they belongs to the same type, so it's saying that it's number. Okay. Okay. uh Not very intuitive, but yeah, like I get the idea of what's going on here. So probably this was a good session today. Wait a minute. Okay, let's finish this off. This is just till here. Notice that our example has changed to be something slightly different. Instead of describing a generic function, we now have a non-generic function signature that is part of a generic type. Sorry, notice that our example has changed to be something slightly different. Instead of describing the generic function, we now have a non-generic function signature that is a part of a generic type. When we use generic identity function, we now will also need to specify the corresponding type argument, here number, effectively locking in what the underlying call signature will use. Understanding when to put the type parameter directly on the call signature and when to put it on the interface itself will be helpful in describing what aspect of a type are generic. In addition to generic interface, we also create generic classes. Note that it is not possible to create generic enums and namespaces. This is really important that we cannot create generic enums and namespaces. Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, guys, this is it for today, and yeah, let's try to do it tomorrow. Yeah, this was a good session today. I'm just looking towards giving 1 hour daily, so I'm trying to learn um, Java, and yeah, I'm trying to split my day's time into some practice of getting myself familiarized with the things I don't know, and continuous learning is what I really want, and a little bit progress every day is what I'm looking forward to. So this is something that I'll do, which keeps me engaged and also makes my English a little bit sharper. So this is I'm liking this. So yeah, stay tuned. I'll try to catch up tomorrow. Till then, take care. Bye bye.